The moment I clicked accept to take that case that was in the queue, it was like a switch, and I started to kind of feel the pressure. And now I have to get on a call with the customer and be on a WebEx, and it's a P2, so it's pressing. And just all of that kind of started to come down on me all at once. Hello, and thank you for coming to check out this video. In this video, I'll be talking about what it's like working in Cisco TAC. I've seen a lot of videos out there for working at Google or working at Facebook or working at LinkedIn, things of those sorts. But you don't really see too much of that type of stuff for working at Cisco. So with that said, I decided to do my own video for that. And, you know, I've watched some of these other videos about the day in the life or whatever, but I've kind of found them to be boring. They show themselves driving into the office. They show themselves sitting at a computer and maybe coding for a while. They show themselves going to lunch in the break room or whatever. I really can't do that now because I'm recording this video during COVID. I can't really go to the office. But it's okay because those types of things are boring anyway. I'm going to, instead of doing a day in life, I'm going to do my journey, talking about when I first got to Cisco TAC. And I very clearly remember taking my first P2 while having been on the team for about a week, and then talking about how that progressed and how I eventually got my name a little more well-known, started working more with the BU, started working more with developers, some of the technical leaders, and then eventually it grew into myself knowing people around the world, working with people in Costa Rica, Amman, Jordan, working with people in Asia, working with people over in India, Australia, just all over the place. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Now remember, I'm going to be talking about this from my experience. So people in different parts of the world might operate differently. They might have different policies or procedures, but there are definitely overarching policies and procedures that go across all the different teams and different locations, different CX centers. But again, I can only speak from my experience and talk about things from my perspective. So I joined TAC back in March of 2015, and I already had a fair amount of experience. I was almost done getting my CCNP in the voice track, which now we call them the collaboration tracks. And I was ramping up, I was building out my lab, which is something we have all of our new hires do. All of the new hires have to subscribe to certain email aliases that get communications from the BU or from different managers or different TAC teams. And also for certain types of training, like training that comes from the business unit. And for those that aren't familiar with the business unit or how TAC interacts with them, just hang in there because I'll talk about the different teams that TAC interacts with. All right, so first week I'm getting through a lot of that type of stuff. And then there was a day that was a little bit busy, busier than what I had seen before because I was watching who on the team was taking what cases when I first joined the team, just to kind of get a feel of what was coming in the queue, who was handling what. And I noticed that on this day that was a little bit busy, there was a P2 sitting in the queue, and it was for CDR. And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, CDR, how hard can it be, right? So I didn't have much experience with Linux at the time or anything like that, but I'll tell you what, the moment I clicked accept to take that case that was in the queue, it was like a switch. And I started to kind of feel the pressure. And now I have to get on a call with the customer and be on a WebEx, and it's a P2, so it's pressing. And just all of that kind of started to come down on me all at once. Now, I was definitely in over my head very quickly because we had to go and get into root, which is the underlying operating system, the Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system. And without having much Linux background, I was having to kind of try to navigate through things, and I was looking at bugs. I didn't really understand how to read the bugs yet, and I didn't know about the system for the bugs yet because I've only been there for about a week. But it wasn't too long before 2 or 3 other TAC engineers were in my cube, helping me navigate the whole situation, helping me manage the customer, helping me manage my communications with the customer, helping me understand where to go, what sites to look at, how to look at the bugs, how to read the bugs, looking at things within the Linux level, navigating through the directories and looking for certain files. And then also with CDR, you have to understand that there's multiple different directories that the CDR files will process through. And, they were helping me understand all of that type of stuff, right? So that was a really good experience for me, because it really let me understand that within TAC, nobody's alone, right? Even though the team was fairly well busy, people were coming over and helping me out. Now, that specific case took me about a week or 2 weeks to figure out. Tons of research. I probably read like 50 different older cases, just going through and seeing who had done what, and then learning different things to check and different logs to collect and how to read those logs and all that type of stuff. So this highlights another thing that I wanted to talk about, is that when you get to TAC, even though I had already had 2 years of really solid experience in the specific field that I was working in within TAC, and I was about to have my CCNP, there's always a very steep learning curve for people that first come to TAC. And for some folks, they'll say, most people will say that, the first 6 months in TAC, you kind of are sitting there wondering, like, am I doing things right? Am I going to get fired? Stuff like that. There's a little bit of some anxiety there. And I would say that that's about accurate. Around the 6 month mark is where you start to feel a little more comfortable and start being able to be more independent. But with that said, I've been in TAC for 6 years now, and I still have certain cases or certain issues that just knock me down. They just cut me off at the knees. And that's where the escalation process comes into play. Again, like I had said before, this is going to be a theme that you see throughout this video. We help each other. You have to. You cannot survive in TAC alone. You have to lean on other people, because we all contribute. We all help each other. There's no way to figure it all out on your own. And so at least twice a week, we will have meetings called case review, where people will come to those meetings. And if you're stuck on a case, we will prioritize those on the agenda. And then we'll talk about those cases that people are stuck on, and you start getting subject matter experts for specific products or specific features weighing in on, well, I've seen this before, or did you check this, or did you check that? Get these logs, make sure they're set to detail, doing these different things. And that's how we learn, right? Through taking the cases, through working the cases, through knowledge transfers, through helping each other. I've learned a ton by helping other people with things. And that's just how it works. We're both learning. The person who needs help and the person who's doing the help is learning. And so after doing the case review and figuring things out, sometimes you might bring it back to case review. We also do a lot of ad hoc helping, like where people came into my queue. But there's the BU, which is the business unit, where TAC will escalate cases to, not frequently, but it does happen. And then the business unit will bring in their own level of expertise that they help push things along. And then if it seems to be a new defect, then eventually it would reach the point where a developer gets pulled in, and then solving it and vetting it out and making sure that it actually is a new defect, and then figuring out the fix. So those are big things. It's difficult. We all need to help each other. There's people that are willing to help. There's also scheduled meetings specifically for helping people. So we set that side. We carve out time to help each other. And then also, once we've addressed the cases where people needed help, we open the floor for people to talk about new defects, or to talk about something that they learned recently, anything cool, or maybe they ran into a really weird issue that they were able to figure it out, and they just want to convey that to the team now so that the team knows about it. If there's any sort of big issues, like maybe a field notice that was recently released or about to be released, we'll share that type of information with each other as well. So let's go back now a little bit and talk a little bit about my career progression while I was in TAC. So I came in and I knew a little bit again, right? So then I start taking cases. I get put on my butt really bad. Get that case out of the way though, right? And then now I move on to taking the cases that we typically start new people on. And within the CCM world, at least in RTP, we'll have people taking certificate cases. And you'll end up taking certificate cases because pretty much everybody on the team knows how to deal with them, and anybody can help you at any point in time. There also is a fair amount of documentation, so you should be able to find whatever answers you need to find on your own. But it also assists people in figuring their way around the tools and like the ticketing system and figuring out those types of non-technical things. And then what I ended up doing was, after getting familiar with the certificate cases, I started trying to take like all recording cases, call recording. So that way I would have a backlog of a bunch of recording cases, and then I would go in the lab and do a lab reproduction, set it up, configure it, get a better understanding of it, pull traces, pull packet captures, really get to understand it. And then that one time that I would go in the lab and do that would apply to the whole backlog of recording cases that I had, which is a lot easier than trying to take cases that deal with contact center, cases that deal with voicemail, cases that deal with call, like phone registration. Now you have all different types of cases. That one lab repro doesn't get applied across to all of them. So that brings me to my next topic, time management. The people that I see do the best in TAC are the folks that are really good at time management. They're really good at saying, these are the things that I need to prioritize, these are the things that I need to knock out, and then just doing it. And, they crush it. Another thing that helps people do really well in TAC is writing documentation, which I've done a ton of content creation. I actually became a somewhat, technical writer within TAC. Another thing about working in TAC is that the management team is awesome. The people that you work with are awesome. I mean, you end up working with some of the smartest people in the industry. Some people that are on industry, like that they help develop industry standards. People that work with the IEEE boards. So you get some awesome people that work around you. And the managers that I've ever run into, some of them are CCIEs, but all of them were once engineers. And so that helps a lot with having a good leadership team, because they understand what it's like. They've been through the ranks, and then now they're managers. Another thing that I would like to talk about is the lab. I mean, it's massive. It's like a data center, and there's more than one. The one that I use the most takes up half of the floor that I worked on, right? And that's another thing is in TAC, it was policy that you work from the office. You had to go into the office, be at your desk. And that's because of how much we really need to collaborate with each other in order to survive in TAC. Now, COVID has kind of thrown a wrench into that. But we're all doing great. WebEx did an awesome job allowing us all to remain in touch and keep collaborating and doing well. Let's talk about another point, the stress that comes with the job. Some people have a hard time dealing with it. But again, more often than not, those are people that are putting their own stresses. Like they're trying to compare themselves to the distinguished engineers. They're trying to compare themselves to the people that have 5 CCIEs within TAC. And those are also a lot of times the people that don't have good time management. So when you don't manage your time appropriately, what ends up happening is you start ending up, instead of being able to manage the workload, everything starts boiling up, and the next thing you know, you're engulfed in flames. Everything around you is on fire. And so that's again why time management is so important. So how do we handle these stresses? How do we maintain a good team environment? We end up doing things called Fun Fund, where we go out to movies together. There's TAC movie night, where everyone in all of TAC is invited to go out and see a movie, and we end up getting the whole movie theater, and then all watching a movie together, getting popcorn and all that good stuff. We also go out to events for maybe rope. There'll be like a rope course in the trees, axe throwing, archery, I've seen that, and then also just going out and having some drinks together, maybe going out and getting dinner together. These are all things that we do for team building. But there's also a lot of recognition, tons of recognition. So when you walk through the hallways, there are these TVs that hang from the walls that also come from drop downs in the ceiling, and they'll have all sorts of things. If you got a certification, they'll put you up there. If a customer gave you really good feedback on a survey, that will get highlighted on there. Other big events will get put on there as well. If you been at Cisco for 5 years or something like that, they'll put it up there. Now, there's also some other things that are company-wide, not just TAC-wide. Like there's connected recognition, which will allow peers to recognize each other. So if I see somebody on my team or somebody on another team doing something really well, I can recognize them, and it can be monetary, or it could just be like a message, or it can be both. A message that gets displayed on the corporate feed, which these types of things do matter, and that's really good. But there's also other incentives, like we get vouchers to take exams. Since being at Cisco, I've never had to pay for an exam. We get money to go to courses. They are really big in talent retention and talent development. So I've gone to courses with instructors that are several $1,000s, and it's all paid for by the company under the training and education budget. But then there's also, I have like an O'Reilly account, I have Pluralsight, I have an Udemy account. There's CBT Nuggets accounts that are there. So they're really big on making sure that people are training and getting the information that they need to better themselves. Another one of the stressors that comes with being in TAC is that you're a valued resource. People from the sales teams want to talk to you. People in professional services want your time. The customers want your time. Partners want your time. Managers want your time. TAC engineers from other TAC teams want your time. They need it even, right? Because there's customer issues and they need to be solved. Plus, it's essentially day 2 operations, right? So there's never like oh yeah, we're getting to this and we can do it. We got a couple months to plan. It's always, no, do it right now, get it done. It needs to be fixed last week, So those are some of the pressures that come with being in TAC. But overall, I would say, especially because of the leadership team that I've had while in TAC, the people, the quality of the people that I work with, the knowledge sharing, the team outings, the recognition that occurs, all of these things together, being able to go and do Cisco Live, all of that type of stuff makes it well worth it. The pros well outweigh the cons, and even though I'm transitioning out of Cisco TAC, I'm staying at Cisco, and my time at Cisco TAC will always be something I hold near and dear, and the relationships that I've built in my time at TAC are ones that are very strong relationships that that will be maintained over time. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below, and hopefully I'll be able to get to them. And I'll see you in the next video.